What's going on, everybody? Super excited to have a bunch of some incredible people building out this Hedera ecosystem. We're got a lot to cover today. We're going to go over so many different things. And first and foremost, I got to make sure that we get a few intros here because we are going to be exploring so many different things. Like I was saying, we're going to be going over what's going on in this ecosystem with some of the people that are actually at Hedera Foundation, like Jeffrey over here. We got Ed Márquez as always leading the charge, making sure that everyone is getting the support they need when it comes to DevRel. Darpan is from the Binary Holdings, and we have Johnny here as well from LinkPool. But let's go around the room, make sure we get a little bit of an intro from each one of these guys, simply because I just don't think I can do them justice. So, Ed, let me kick it off with you.
Awesome. Hey, Action. Always good to be here with you and with our audience, and of course, with this excellent group of speakers. Ed Márquez here. I lead developer relations. I've been part of the Hedera ecosystem for about 4.5 years, and it's been an amazing ride. So, developer relations is that function that seeks to attract, engage, and retain developers and make sure that we provide a very good dev experience so that those devs can come, build amazing solutions, and also bring those retail users that are going to drive network effects and real world adoption for distributed ledgers like Hedera. And yeah, based in the East Coast of the US, and looking forward to sharing with this amazing group of speakers today.
Incredible. Darpan, let me put you on screen. Go for it, brother. Share a little bit of who you are and what you do.
Hey, hope everyone can hear me clear. So call me DK. I think it's a lot easier for everyone. I'm the VP of Marketing at the Binary Holdings. We essentially build Web3 distribution infrastructure, which means that we power telco loyalty programs, and I will get into that as the questions go deeper and further. Binary is a recent partner of Hedera, and we're super excited to kind of help Hedera be fit into every mobile phone in the world. And we'll get to talking about that soon.
Beautiful. All right. Next up, Johnny, let me get you up here. Let everybody know what it is that you do.
Thank you, Action. So yeah, I'm Johnny, the founder of LinkPool. LinkPool is primarily a large infrastructure shop in the Web3 space, been around since 2017. Best known for being one of the largest Chainlink Oracle providers across many chains, and also we're the co-contributor of the stake.link down, which is the only Chainlink LST as well, or the LST factory of the Web3 space. And yeah, most recently proud to be supporting Hedera with large public RPC endpoints.
Beautiful. And yeah, people don't think about what you guys do often, but let me tell you, without the things that you do, nothing would work, right? It's like the tech that kind of handles everything in the background. But Jeffrey, how about yourself, Mr. Hedera Foundation?
Yeah. Hey, Action, thanks a lot for having me. I'm excited to be here. Look, I'm with the Hedera Foundation now, previously known as the HBAR Foundation. I lead growth for the APAC region. I've been doing this for quite some time in different capacities in the APAC region, but specifically for the Hedera ecosystem. I started the Hedera ecosystem about nearly 5 years now. I was building some projects with council members on the enterprise side. Eventually made it over to ventures and growth with the Hashgraph Association. I was leading that out of Switzerland and a few other areas. And then now focusing on basically providing 3Cs, so capital, community, and consumer use cases for the overall Hedera ecosystem over in APAC. So excited to be here. Thanks again.
Such a pleasure having you guys here. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. We got a lot to cover. And first off, let's kick it off with what's going on as far as that background. What's powering really Hedera? LinkPool, like I said, it's one of those things that people don't think about a lot. But RPC points kind of important to actually make things work and make things run, especially if you're dealing with a scalable DeFi, and especially now. I mean, RWAs. I know I just interviewed somebody from Hedera. You guys are going to see the interview come out hopefully before the end of the week, where I do talk about RWAs and what's going on inside of Hedera and how we're empowering builders to bring things on chain. But Jonathan, let me kick it off with you as far as LinkPool is concerned. Builders are here. Builders are watching. Builders want to know what this space is all about. what exactly, are these RPC points, and why do they matter so much when it comes to dApps? Because I understand that without them, without having these good RPC points, things are just kind of dead in the water, for lack of a better explanation. And what do we do, and how can we ensure that these things are actually functioning, which is where you come in?
Yep. No, it's a really good question. So for anyone that interacts with Hedera and any blockchain, RPCs are the point that you interact with. So anything that you do in any wallet, from a developer point of view, if they're building, smart contracts, doing anything with script or anything on chain, it's always going to be using RPCs. RPCs are incredibly important to decentralize the network with having as many infrastructure providers running RPCs and performant and reliable RPCs as possible. So, pretty much everyone every day in any wallet is going to be using RPC endpoints. For users that are familiar with adding new networks in wallets or interacting with smart contracts, they might have seen areas to add RPC endpoints, but every interaction from checking your balance on your account to sending a transaction to querying anything on chain is through RPCs. So it's sort of it's a bit like the internet in a way, right? It's like the thing that happens behind the scenes that not many people understand, but it powers everything that a user does.
And I think it goes without saying that they're important and improve the ecosystem as a whole. Ed, from your perspective, how do these, better, let's call them better RPC endpoints, improve just the experience all around for people, for developers that are, deploying on Hedera?
You said it, actually. It's sort of all about that developer experience and improving that usability, that ease for the developer so that they can build without necessarily thinking about the tooling. They can build thinking about the problem that they're trying to address as opposed to the tooling, right? Because the tooling is there, it just works as you would expect. And so what I love about better, more and better RPC endpoints on Hedera is that it also gives devs more choices, right? Because on Hedera, you have effectively two paths. You can go the native path, where if you want to build with the SDKs and directly talk to consensus nodes, that's available to you and very easy to get started down that path. If you're coming from the traditional development route, right? Like you just know Java or Go or JavaScript and Python, very easy to get started down that path. But Hedera is also EVM compatible. And we have been working very hard with partners like the foundation, the association, to grow and develop that EVM ecosystem, that set of infrastructure integrations that are needed to provide that outstanding experience for developers. And so partners like LinkPool are essential to that. And for those EVM developers, that means that they can come use an RPC endpoint that simply works. And it translates into that positive and smooth dev experience because they can count with low latency, high reliability, high uptimes, and also it's all about scalability, right? So that they don't have to worry about bottlenecks happening at the endpoint or any other part of the tech stack. And ultimately, it's about driving ecosystem growth and adoption as well, because when you have this enterprise grade infrastructure that works, then that's when you're able to attract more developers, more projects, and then you accelerate that ecosystem growth. So I think it's a key element to have this type of infrastructure and integrations working.
Now, Jonathan, you do go a little bit further, right? Like I think that LinkPool does a great job when it comes to RPCs, but you run validator nodes, you build DeFi products, and also you invest in other projects that are building in this space. How does it all kind of connect into this full stack powerhouse that you guys have become?
So, Ed said it very well, right? For us, it's making sure we truly sort of invest and get involved in building out the ecosystem for every user, from developers to to retail to people that want to get involved, and things just work. So for us, it's important to have significant capability where we can really invest and get involved. We run like RPC nodes, full nodes validators for around 150 plus chains. And it takes a lot of infrastructure to do that. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on as well is, like you mentioned, full stack. So not just infrastructure, but from a software capability, we're very experienced in building DeFi apps like we've done with Stake.link, which is the LST, which is soon to be expanding onto Polygon as well. And really for us, we pride ourselves on technical excellence, right? It's really all about doing things in the best way. And to give example of Hedera and the RPC, we run. People might not understand this fully, but a lot of RPC endpoints don't store like the full history of a chain. So if you're looking at getting data from past years or anything else, a lot of the time it's not there. So for us, with the Hedera RPC, that's completely free and open to developers. They can query the full history of the entire chain, which for us is around 150 terabytes. But because of the scale of the infra and how we do things across tier 4 data centers in the UK, we really have the capability to do that and offer it as a public good, really, for everyone, users and developers alike, to use.
I love that. I mean, thinking about the community and how people are actually building stuff out is so critical. And it goes without, people just don't notice it. Like I said, like what's happening in the background. And like, this sounds crazy, but I hope people don't notice it, because that's when the experience is actually good for the end user. So awesome job that you're doing over there, making sure that developers are, have the tools that they need to actually build the things that they're excited to build. But let's talk about the market itself, because right now we see a lot of people looking at, all right, how do I actually deploy this thing? And what I mean by that is, are we going to go with this out of the box solution that your big AWSs of the world have been providing, or are we going to look at different options that allow them to be a little bit closer to the blockchain space and a decentralized notion that we kind of experience? And I'm not going to bring up SharePoint and how that's been a fiasco this week, and how everything is kind of crashing around these larger organizations, and how most people are trying to bring things back on prem, just keeping it a high level. What's your thoughts? Where should people go when they're looking to deploy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. So, I mean, LinkPool for us as a startup, right? Way back, we started on AWS and used general purpose cloud, like a lot of companies do. The problem there, especially in the blockchain space, is if you're running infrastructure for all of these networks, it uses a lot of compute, a lot of disk, and it gets very expensive very quickly. So really at scale, we moved to on-prem and full co-located across 2 data centers in the UK in 2023, which gave us the benefit of significant cost savings while also significant performance increases. Because we can, customize our own hardware, build servers ourselves in the certain specs that we want them, build the entire network stack how we want it. You don't get that flexibility in cloud. Even so, there's a lot of like bare metal providers like OVH and Hetzner and DigitalOcean, which a lot of people do use and a lot of companies do use as well, which give better cost performance than what you'd see in general purpose clouds. But really, for the true decentralization ethos of the crypto space, like really more people should be looking at really bringing it co-located and even running RPC nodes themselves in their own garage, if they wanted to, right? Because that's most important. You only can take a look at like incidents that you see when, like certain regions in AWS have issues, or like Cloudflare has issues and it brings down 1/3 of the internet, and all of that really generally affects like RPC nodes. And if you see significant downtime like that, then it's going to impact users, developers, and even potentially networks if things are centralized. So, for us, we really pride ourselves on having our own racks, doing it all ourselves, and really decentralizing at a significant scale.
Man, I love to hear that. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing a lot of people actually do some of these things. I mean, I'm the tinkerer with a couple of racks on my property myself, but I'm like, I want everybody to join forces and do the same thing. This is how, I guess you can say innovation really kicks off. It's by people tinkering and being excited about these things, and kind of getting their hands dirty. And all of a sudden, it's like, hey, Johnny, can we work with you? I've been doing this for 7 years on my own. So I can't see more, I can't wait to see more and more people do exactly that. But Ed, let me go to you real quick in regards to, devs building on Hedera's EVM. how does this actually tie it all in? Like we're talking about MetaMask or hard hat integrations. Where does this come in with what Johnny just talked about?
I love that question, Action, because this is critical infrastructure what LinkPool is providing, and then what is the impact that it has for developers. Ultimately, coming back to that dev experience, and also it makes tools like MetaMask, like a lot of EVM libraries, easily available on Hedera. So what I'm showing here on the screen is two visuals, right? As I mentioned before, on Hedera, you have that Hedera native path where you can develop and build applications with the Hedera SDKs, whether it's Java or JavaScript or Go, Swift, and so much more. But today I want to focus on the part that is here to the right. And the key infrastructure, that folks like LinkPool provide is right here, right? Facilitating those connections between those applications that devs are building and the Hedera network itself. So you can see how it's a critical and essential point for all applications to make sure that these things work. And so yeah, all those tools that are available in EVM ecosystems like Hardhat, Foundry, Ethers, and VM, and many others, and MetaMask are easy to use on a network like Hedera because of the high quality and enterprise grade JSON RPC providers and endpoints that we now have available.
Wow. I love that little graph because it showed, a lot of languages that I've been using for so long. I know you're like, let's not focus on that, but I'm like, Solidity versus JavaScript. For me, like it's an easy answer anytime I'm trying to code anything, using something that I've been using for well over a decade versus something that kind of kicked off recently. So that's really cool to see everything up there. Johnny, when it comes to looking ahead for what's next, like what do you see shaping up, blockchain infrastructure here over the next couple of years? Like I said, I think on-prem is something that everyone has been talking about more and more. Does that play a role? Is there anything else you see on the horizon?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like I could ramble about this for quite a long time, to be honest. I think a lot more companies that do similar things to what we do are probably going to move more on-prem, and there's going to be more of a rush of people doing that. Just like I mentioned before, like even from a business point of view, right, the cost savings are too large not to do it. Even compared to using a lot of like the bare metal providers that you see in like like OVH or Equinix. I mean, in general, in the blockchain industry and infrastructure, even when I got into this space in 2017, I mean, the reason that I could get into this space and really saw traction is because there wasn't many people who I suppose had an infrastructure and DevOps background, doing a lot of this work professionally, right? So for me, it was a bedroom project that turned into a full-time job and a business, which is great and was nice because it's my professional background. So I think it's going to be a lot more players that enter the space, and I feel like a lot of people are going to look at different options in terms of where and how they can run the infrastructure to get better performance while also bringing their own costs down, which is also good for the decentralization of the industry, right? Like if you look at sort of like cloud charts or where a lot of infrastructure runs, is always a lot of concentration in like US East 1, certain places in like Germany and France to where Hetzner and like the big OVH data centers are. And more decentralization, the better. We're one of the few shops that run completely co-located with modern tooling as well. So we fully use like Kubernetes in our own racks, which a lot of the time is like unheard of in this space and in a lot of ways frowned upon. But it's we pride ourselves on modern tooling as well. But even just the aspect of people would be surprised of how many data centers and like large like infra sort of companies that there is around them. You could be going through like any industrial estate and is a building with not no symbols on or anything else, and inside it is like 4 data halls that contains most of the internet for your area. And people really don't realize it. It's like you mentioned with RPCs, right? It's like the thing that works and always works. And people, just don't see it. I think generally in the crypto space is going to be a lot of more app chains. I think, but I feel like that thesis is sort of coming to an end, especially with a lot of the different L2s that are spinning up. But for us, especially with working with Hedera and the consortium that Hedera has, and the usage as well. You know, it's really good for us to sort of test ourselves and really offer you know, the public good that we do with Hedera and run this at scale. You know, for me, when we first started with LinkPool, you know, we used to do a bunch of this for different chains like Ethereum mainnet and offering free RPCs, like way back then. And you know, now to sort of carry on that philosophy and do what we did, and trying to build more in the open and do a lot more for the community is, you know, is good. So proud to be doing it, and yeah, I appreciate, you know, being invited to this and connecting with all you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like I said, like you're living the dream, to be honest with you. And like I hope, you know, devs and people that are actually looking to build heard that story. I mean, you talked about turning this hobby into a business. And I mean, to me, that is literally the dream. Hopefully I'll get there one day. Until then, I'm still the guy with a few racks, you know, in my place, running as many nodes as I possibly can, trying to get some validators up. But that is literally why I'm here. I mean, it's the reason why I got into crypto in the first place. Is like, how can I leverage hardware and get really cool things running on it? And I'm talking about way back when I was still mining, you know, Bitcoin with my CPU actually. So like, it's one of those things. Like, there is a ton of opportunity out there, and if people just get a little more excited about what's happening in the space, I mean, the sky's the limit, and there's so much opportunity. And I mean, you're living proof of that. You know, these hobbies, let's call them, can really turn themselves into businesses, and you know, people can thrive by, you know, focusing on things that they love. But let's talk telco here. My nerdiness expands a wide, wide gap. So telco is definitely one of those things that kind of excites me more than most people realize. Darpan, let's get into this thing, because I want people to kind of understand where it all started with binary holdings. Like, what's the vision for bringing Web3 into this telco ecosystems? Like, why should, you know, developers care about the, you know, this, I guess you can call it a distribution channel of sorts. Most people don't even think about it. Right now, my backup internet is running through a telco. You know, my failover is running through a telco, but most people aren't even considering that telcos are not only reliable but needed in a lot of places, right?
Yeah, I mean, besides the fact that everyone kind of has a mobile phone that relies on a telco, people don't really think about the telco app or basically the telco service as much. You just pay your bill and you're kind of out of there. But this is kind of what we realized, right? A lot of these telco guys have massive user bases, like they capture entire countries. Like, I'm based in Bangkok and there's just two telco partners, and this is a population of 60 million. And even if it's an even share, do the math, right? So
Yeah.
just as a channel to reach a bunch of new Web2 users, this is the widest net you can cast. Now, the good part about this is telcos actually have an issue right now. Like I said, you pay your bill and you're kind of out of the app. They actually want people to stay inside, and they generally do that with your loyalty programs. These are very, very popular in Asia, loyalty programs everywhere, but loyalty programs are fundamentally super broken. Like, I think there's I think there's like a trillion something unused points dollars just sitting inside loyalty programs, which no one really cares about. And the main problem, at least in Asia, is that you have to spend money to kind of earn points. So with crypto, and with Web3 tech in general, we can flip the script. We basically turn this into spend time to, make money. And we do that by inserting decentralized applications inside the telco applications to power their loyalty programs. So if you visualize with me how this works, is a general person, at least in Asia, at least from financial strata that is not like close to us, maybe on the lower income side, they're always hunting for deals and they're always hunting for vouchers. So they enter the telco app to kind of pay their bill or buy some internet, and they stumble upon a voucher, or they stumble upon or they see within the app some coin icons up top. Once they click on it, they enter this app Play Store looking interface. But what they don't know, it's a DApp Play Store interface. Instead of your usual games or usual offers, it's all Web3 dApps. And this is kind of what we've done, and this is what our partnership with Hedera is about. Basically, we're putting Hedera dApps inside telco loyalty programs, and by default in every mobile phone in like Southeast Asia, right? Some stats and some figures before I get into why this should matter to developers, just to contextualize the scale that we're talking at. So we're live in 2 countries in their largest telcos, in Indonesia and Philippines. Um, Cumulatively, these 2 telcos have 170 million customers, out of which 11 million, give or take, use this loyalty program completely unknowingly. So they get an auto-created wallet as soon as they sign up, and KYC is already done because it's telcos, right? You got to give a passport and ID card to get a SIM card. So that's done, no bots. They get an auto-created wallet, which is activated when they enter this Play Store, which we call OneWave. And then they start earning binary tokens, which is our loyalty point distributed to them for engaging with dApps. So it's incentivized engagement. They get the binary token and they can use it like a loyalty point. They don't know any of this is crypto. Now, why this should matter to developers? This is like the super simple part. You can build the best app in the world, but if no one knows you, then where is this going? So we give dApps and we give chains kind of like the best shot for the distribution at a super low like customer acquisition cost if you want to get technical. Every mobile phone, there's 11 million people using this thing. Let's see if your dApp sticks. And let's see if those daily active users for this telco can reflect back on, in this case, like the Hedera chain, via your dApp. And, your dApp is like the next big thing.
All right. So I don't think people realize how big point systems are around the globe. If you just take a look at some of, I'll use airlines as an example. Take a look at Star Alliance's and, United's balance sheet. I mean, it accounts for over half of their value, which is just wild. Points is a thing that literally moves markets, and I'm so happy to hear that you're going into this business, Darpan, but like not in the crypto way, but just allowing people to use the things that they know and the applications that they are already a part of. Because from what I understand, this is integrated right into your partners' apps as well, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a white labeled loyalty point solution. So we run like loyalty points for these massive telcos, and people like none the wiser.
Yeah. When it comes to the token itself, how does that work from the builder's perspective for people that are trying to implement dApps?
So the good part about this loyalty point interface that we've built is the integration. This will make a lot of sense to all the developers watching. You can stay on the chain that you build on. Like, let's say you're watching this year Hedera dev and you got a Hedera dApp. You can stay on the chain you build on. The integration is an iframe integration, which means that I just need like a simple API link to put you in there. The beauty of this is the customer is earning the binary loyalty point, which they don't know it's crypto, so they just use it like a loyalty point. They're also earning your token because every dApp probably has a token, right? But that token sits in like, it's kind of like a handshake between the Hedera wallet and like our wallet. And that sits within that Hedera wallet associated with that user, which means that it can only be used inside your ecosystem. This solves like the big sell pressure issue, which, it's a problem, right? It's a big sell pressure issue. It solves all of that because people don't know. For the user, they basically have an incentivization tool or stickiness tool to come back
Mm.
because your tokens basically behave like in-game currency. I don't know if you played like PUBG or something. If you have a bunch of IGC, use it on cosmetics and stuff. So they keep coming back. And then you can create a flywheel for your dApp to actually turn it into like a profit center. And have utility to your token furthermore than what you've already promised.
I love that. I mean, that is how we're actually going to onboard the masses. It's a matter of turning cost centers into profit centers. That is the number one way that we're going to see this quote unquote mass adoption that we're been talking about for years. But You mentioned PUBG, so I'm going to go into this thing. I know the Hedera Foundation and Binary Holdings, kind of got together here to drive mobile gaming and Web3 adoption through these telcos. I would love to know how you guys are working together to, essentially make this more attractive and accessible for devs. From the building aspect of things to testing to distribution, in scale. To not only your smaller markets, but to be able to blow this thing out of the water and make it available for millions of people. And I'll throw that. I want to hear from maybe Jeffrey or Ed on this one.
Yeah, maybe I'll start first, right? It's all about network effect, and no pun intended. You get into a situation like this where tastes and preferences are changing. And telecommunication space, if you have access to mobile phone, you have access to connectivity, you can play your game, you can hold your virtual assets, and you can actually do Web3 activities from a pay-fi, social-fi perspective. And then the other thing too is, as Darpan said earlier, you have a telco account, you're already KYC to an extent. So digital identity use cases can actually be easily integrated into the whole experience for when you move from one place to another, use your DApp or use your app or use your game in one place for very specific functions. So, that is the baseline from the reason why the foundation really enjoys getting into these type of relationships. And the other thing too is I'd have to say that this was a very organic approach. We created a very win-win relationship uh, together, and it's about getting the builders into an ecosystem that they feel comfortable with, and having the right tools and infrastructure in place, so they don't have to worry about getting the loading the application, having to create your own infrastructure to actually access users to get the customer acquisition and then prevent churn. So I think from that perspective, we're very excited to actually be in a relationship like this. Now, when it comes to the actual infrastructure in place to allow builders, devs, and testing and rollout, the fact of the matter is, in a consistent multi-chain environment, allows a game to come in and reach multiple users in the Web2 experience. I think that's the most important. Is that you don't have to really think about the abstraction of getting ready into a Web3 ecosystem and then making sure that my wallet is compatible with this bridge or that integration or this NFT in the right token standards. So can I actually use it cross game? I think this is the great thing about having that Web2 approach. And then also having that baseline for developers to actually deploy. And then honestly, the users are already there, right? So they come in, they test, they play, they like it, and then it's a self-fulfilling kind of feedback loop. So I guess Darpan, I'll pass it over to you and talk about a little bit more about how the infrastructure actually facilitates some of that like organic adoption from the dev side.
That is beautifully said, Jeffrey. And before I answer the question, I want to say that I love to see both of these perspectives today. Recently in the past 2 weeks, I presented a talk at a conference where I gave an overview of all the innovation that has happened under our noses in the past 15, 20 years in this space. From the infrastructure, right, having enterprise grade providers like LinkPool, all the way to these apps and marketplaces that are just making it easier to adopt the technology without knowing that it's crypto. And so, I love the fact that we're getting a front row seat to this conversation on both ends. Now, like Jeffrey said, it's all about driving those network effects, driving that usage. And what I love about this in particular is that it's driving usage by adding real value to the customers, whether it's a better experience or a new experience, right? It's not just, hey, it's crypto or it's AI, therefore it's cool. It's not about that. It's accessible, it's very easy to use, and it's useful to me. Therefore, it has a better chance, to be adopted and to be sticky for the long term. So, you know, I'm just very excited to see both of those ends from this conversation. And yeah, I think it has the potential to also motivate and attract other developers that may want to build with this technology.
Now, I definitely got to ask this question in regards to the APAC region. Jeffrey, does this help? Like, how does this actually fit in with the strategy of the exponential growth that you guys are targeting for that APAC region? Is it helping? I know a lot of people out there. It's all about mobile versus a computer. I think as far as stats go, more people are on their mobile phones than on their computer. So, does this have a grand impact?
Yeah, no, it totally does. I'll go back to the Web 2 to Web 3 kind of transition experience. Um, currently I'm in Vietnam, and the Web 3 penetration, the Web 3 penetration ratio and rate is extremely high. And then you look at like the mobile penetration rate versus kind of like landlines and traditional internet ISP infrastructure. It leapfrogged many of the more developed nations, right? And so there's a high correlation to that. And when it goes back to having these two basic principles, then you get into SocialFi, PayFi, DeFi, and get into all of the different things that we talk about that decentralized technologies and blockchain and crypto can actually bring to an ecosystem, community, and society. And it is true. Like it is part of when I look at different regions in Asia Pacific, whether it be more of the, let's say, established economies, how those, let's say, deployments of capital to create commerce and different activities are related to the infrastructure of mobile devices and internet connectivity. It's literally the same when it comes to the emerging markets and various different, let's say, pain points that people will feel here. One great thing about the APAC region is that there's a lot of fidelity in terms of different cultures, different regions, different geographies. But one of the bad things is like literally in the economic zone, you have, I don't know, 46 different currencies, right? And about 5-6 different time zones. And so how do you actually use blockchain and DLT to bridge and solve a lot of the clearing settlement issues, communication? From a telco perspective, let's talk about it. Like you have MVNOs, which is on the retail side, when somebody actually gets an eSIM or gets a SIM card when they travel and get roaming and stuff. And then there's also like the wholesale providers, which are, the big names, Tata Communications, one of our council members, to a few other companies out there. And how do you articulate and settle all of these different things that happening in a very complex way? And I think having blockchain as part of the solution is one thing. And that's what the foundation really looks at. Is like we're looking at retail all the way to enterprise. So you go retail. I'm trying to figure out how to get gamers to actually load their games onto different platforms like Binary Holdings, and then some of the MVNOs that would actually be providing you your data connectivity, all the way to figuring out how in the very back end, how if you're in a different country and you're roaming and you're settling, how's the call data records actually settle on 4G, 5G, and then eventually 5G plus? And so Hedera has a place in all of this, and that's why I'm super excited to see, like, from the end-to-end life cycle of this entire experience. So yeah, it really matches in with the foundation, like from a regional perspective, all the different problems that it can be solved with DLT and the Hedera layer one infrastructure is there, whether you're EVM and or native, for enterprise all the way down to retail. And me personally, I'm really focusing on the retail ecosystem growth, and this partnership with various different players around the APAC community, and then the relationship that we built with Binary Holdings is one of those very many partnerships that really need to be in place. So yeah, it's fully aligned with what we're looking at.
I love that. And that's the thing, like a lot of people don't realize, like this has such a big impact. Even the US right now, you're talking about NVMOs. I mean, that's Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he tried to hire me for that Mint Mobile ad, but I just charged too much and he's trying to save money with his green screen. This impacts everyday life. This is literally touching everybody around the globe. And it's really cool to see that you guys are taking charge and actually being at the forefront of this thing. It makes a big difference into actually getting real adoption. Ed, talk to me about this, expansions, I guess is the best way to explain this. Like your link pools, RPCs, and binary holdings, telco distribution. What's a long-term vision here to not only attract builders, but enable this real world adoption at scale more than we've already seen?
Well, I think these type of expansions are very aligned with what the long-term vision is for the Hedera network and for the ecosystem, right? If you think about the progress that this means, I mean, 4 years ago, a lot of these integrations were not in place. It was a very, focused path. For example, that SDK path was all that developers had available, but this EVM ecosystem has grown significantly in that time frame to bring maturity in tools, in integrations, and infrastructure for devs. And so, from my perspective, at least, ultimately, it's about giving that better set of tools, that better experience to devs, because they build those foundations that are going to attract new retail usage, new institutional usage, and add value to the end users. So that's in a way how we drive network effects and long-term adoption, right? So I see that as very aligned. And the goal is to attract more of those enterprise grade sets of infrastructure, set of integrations, so that people can build with ease, right? And so I think you want to make it easy for people to use and adopt the technology, but that's also in a way the job of the developers. And our job as DevRel people, as Hedera people, is to make the life of the developers easy. So that's how we create that flywheel of inertia and adoption that ultimately makes us that 100-year network that we want to be and stay here for the long term.
All right, I got to mention that beautiful shirt that two of you guys are wearing. This Hello Future shirt. This is kind of an OG shirt to kind of bring it back, but you guys are keeping it fresh with the Hello Future Hackathon trilogy. I know that's launching soon. Why do you think that's going to be like a big event for you guys and for builders alike that are looking to expand into this ecosystem?
Yeah, I'm happy to take an initial stab at that question. I think hackathons are a very effective vehicle to attract developers to try the technology and to engage with those devs. Now, we're working also very hard to make sure that those devs that come and try the technology, try the network, also stay, right? It's all about keeping those friction points low, not only on the technology level, but the ecosystem level, making sure that they have that support, that set of, you know, tools and connections that they're going to need to make their build projects and their hack projects into real businesses. And so that's what we're aiming to provide with these hackathons, an exciting opportunity for people to either learn the technology, or if they're veterans, come and build something very compelling that solves a market need, and then have the support mechanisms, support channels, and connections to stay in the Hedera ecosystem and build a successful business, a successful application. And so I feel like all of the elements are in place today to provide an amazing experience with these type of hackathons, right? From the technology, I think it's at an excellent point in terms of maturity, capabilities. Same with the integrations and the tools. And then we all know the outstanding performance that we've seen from the foundation, integrating HBAR in many places, bringing new infrastructure partners and so on. So I'm really optimistic about all of that. And of course, it doesn't hurt that these hackathons provide good motivation, which is amazing prizes, right? In this case, it's 150K of prizes for this first chapter. Remember that this is going to be a trilogy. So we want to keep providing more of those opportunities for devs to come build and maybe even continue building those things that they tried in an initial hackathon. So I cannot explain how excited I am, to bring this finally to market. It actually started yesterday and it's going to go on for 3 weeks. So if you haven't signed up yet, please go to hedera.com/hackathon and register so that you can start building, getting in touch with your mentors, going to those AMAs and workshops, and trying out the technology, because the best time to build with this tech is 2 years ago or 10 years ago. The second best time is today.
So I got to ask, how much again?
150 for this one. Now for the whole for the whole trilogy, it's $500,000. So
Okay, that one gets this.
That's right.
Sorry, Furman in the background. He's got it. Like, can we do sound effects? Can we do sound effects? We can always do sound effects, buddy. Always do sound effects for you. All right, so they can go to, I know Hello Future Hackathon.dev is an easy way to get there. What about getting started with the ecosystem as a whole? Like, how can they actually get involved and maybe, let's say, learn how to build on Hedera? They might be building somewhere else and like, hey, maybe I should check this thing out. It might be worthwhile exploring this platform. Where do they go? How do they start?
Well, if you're a dev the natural place to go is either a hackathon or documentation. And then we have another great place, which is the Hedera Developer Playground. So if you just go hedera.com/playground, that's a tool that is browser based. You don't have to install anything, download anything, or set up anything. You simply try on your browser the technology. You get to know what it's like to work with the SDKs, or deploying contracts in Hedera just from a browser, so you can get that you know that experience of what it's like to work with the technology in a matter of seconds. I've heard feedback from people that are able to deploy their first successful transaction or their first smart contract in seconds, as opposed to 30 minutes with local setup, or even an hour if things are not working as you expect. And so that's a great first touch point that I would love to recommend. And then once you're ready to keep progressing, check out that documentation, get in touch with us, and join the Hedera Discord, because that's where we have a lot of our community folks and our experts, staying in touch with those new devs that come on board.
Love to hear it. All right, let me make sure I get to hear from some of you guys again here, because I want to know what's coming up, what's next, and if there any announcements, anything going on with your communities that people should be aware of. Anything on your side of things, Johnny?
Yeah. We're not far out in expanding State.link to Polygon. So it's the first LST that we're bringing live outside of Chainlink as well. We're always expanding onto new networks. Infrastructure is always scaling as well. Currently looking at building out some more servers. The demand for servers never ends. It's always a good thing. It's quite fun always installing them. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, keep an eye on in terms of what we're doing with the DAO in that space as well, because like Ed mentioned, with building on Hedera, it's something we've looked at as well. So
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I mean, just the implementation of a DAO in general, it's pretty exciting to see that people can have a stake and a say in things. That's I mean, the ethos of what we're up for here, what we're trying to put together. When it comes to the binary holdings, what's next over there? Like, what's the app that these people should be downloading to see how this thing actually works and functions? And is there anything on the horizon that you can maybe, I won't say leak, but share with us?
Yeah, I like how you phrase that. Okay, so the big one is we're always looking to expand our distribution base or user base, whatever you call it. Currently at about 160, 170 million people. We intend to get to 1 billion, which sounds pretty insane, but we've signed partnerships with like 7 telcos. So once those are put in play and those loyalty points are kind of kickstarted, that's a big distribution network for all of Hedera's dApps and basically any dApp on any chain. As a sidebar, specifically for Hedera dApps. It's really exciting to kind of talk about all this stuff, but I would be amiss or remiss if I didn't tell you how to kind of get into this ecosystem. So um, we have a special credits/grants program specifically for Hedera dApps to enter this loyalty program, wherein you get $15,000 worth of credits to play around with. These credits can function, basically they function like AWS credits, wherein you can use them to place your app higher up in the Play Store, advertise, gain more analytics, so on and so forth. I've shared the link in the chat. I don't know if Action will be able to share that, but real quick, if you're interested, just go to @thebinaryholdings and look at our pin post. It's there in the thread alongside the explainer of how the partnership works. So 2 really big things from our end. Yeah, and that'll be all.
That's awesome to hear. And yeah, 1 billion people is not that crazy considering you got what 4.7 billion in the APAC region. So you're just getting started here. It sounds like you're just kicking things off. All right. Last but definitely not least, on
Yep.
the Hedera Foundation side of things, anything you want people to know about?
Hey, for the rest of the year, I'll be localizing Hedera for every single region within the APAC, geography. So if you're based in APAC and you're going to be going to any of the big events, whether it's Token, WebEx, BitCub event in Bangkok and whatnot, FinTech Festival, Hong Kong FinTech Week, we'll be there and we'll be around. So come find us. We don't bite. And if you have any questions about your um, project, application, even idea, we can figure out how to support you. And the other thing too is if you don't have to wait for a hackathon, to actually get support from us, right? So go to the foundation's website, Hedera.Foundation. There's a little button on the right-hand side. It's called Submit a Proposal. Submit a proposal. Make sure you tab APAC ecosystem. It'll come to me, and you'll be hearing from me real soon. So that's pretty much it. Thanks again.
Man, Jeffrey, I love how low key your ex account is, by the way. It's his last name underscore abroad. If anybody's wondering, if you want to go bother him over there. But it gets personal. I love the pictures you put up and just following along and seeing, how the development is going. It's real people building real things, man. Like that's what I love about what's going on at Hedera Foundation. Ed, why don't you take us away here? What should people be looking at? Because I think you always have something up your sleeve and things you're working in the background that people don't always know about. How do they stay connected and ensure that they're not missing out on all the cool things you're doing at DevRel over there?
Of course. And, it's a team effort. So I do want to mention a couple guys that are today behind the scenes, Luis and Fermin. They make all these calls and spaces run so smoothly. So huge shout out to them. And also the rest of the DevRel team, right? I'm just sometimes the face, but these guys are and girls that are doing an outstanding job. I already talked about the hackathon. The other part that I want to mention is make sure you stay tuned to all the monthly calls and spaces that we have. So every month we get together with our friends at Genzio, amazing projects and builders and infrastructure providers to bring this type of content to you. And then we also have monthly general community calls where you can hear general ecosystem updates, and also technical community calls where you can hear about the new developments, new integrations, things in the roadmap and so on. So please stay tuned for those. We have a technical community call happening on Thursday if you want to hear more on, the techie and the nerdy side of the house, which I love talking about. And then, please stay tuned with the roadmap. I think we have excellent things coming from the technology perspective. The foundation already covered, some of the exciting opportunities that they'll have for builders. And of course, I'm sure there are going to be more integrations, more use cases that go live. So tune into this type of spaces to hear all those updates.
Love to hear. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for all the insight and everything you guys shared with us today. It goes without saying that these broadcasts are invaluable to bring on new devs and let people know how awesome things are over here and how you are looking to support them and get them to the next level and help them build and get things out there. So thank you all so much, from RPC points to getting to that last mile and ensuring that users are actually able to get rewarded for using applications on chain. Thank you all so very much. Jeffrey, Ed, you too as well. You guys have always been phenomenal. I can't wait to talk to you all again.
The need for a more interconnected world is fueling new decentralized technologies and new ways of doing business. Hedera stands at the forefront of distributed ledgers, where every interaction is not only trusted, but fast, efficient, and secure. While traditional blockchains struggle with speed and fees, Hedera's network settles transactions in under 3 seconds for a fraction of a penny. And the proof is in the numbers. Hedera is uniquely governed by a council of the world's leading institutions, ensuring transparency, trust, and decentralization. It's no wonder Hedera is the leading choice for enterprise and DeFi use cases. Everything from real-world asset tokenization to AI data integrity. Discover the only decentralized network with the governance, scalability, and security to power the new digital economy. What future will you build?